A question from Romans chapter 2. What does Paul mean when he speaks of the law as being written on the hearts of Gentiles? And how can Gentiles possibly do what the law requires in any case? Now, let's start the passage with the passage that's being referred to. It's chapter 2, verse 14. In your NIV Bibles, it's in brackets as a little set-aside moment in Paul's argument. He writes, "Indeed, when Gentiles who do not have the law do by nature things required by the law, they are a law for themselves, even though they don't have the law. They show that the requirements of the law are written on their hearts, their consciences also bearing witness, and their thoughts sometimes accusing them, and at other times even defending them." Now, let's take the second part of the question that's been asked first. Notice, Paul doesn't quite go as far as suggesting that Gentiles can ultimately fulfill the law's demands. Rather, he's acknowledging that there may be occasions in which even Gentiles do by nature, in which they instinctually do something that the law itself commends. Perhaps it seems second nature to them that committing adultery against one's wife would compromise the good of their marriage. Perhaps they instinctively know, by nature, that selling their child into slavery would compromise their integrity as a loving parent. Perhaps they can even acknowledge that allowing an innocent person to be accused of their own mistakes would be an act of injustice that they'd be accountable for. Now, all this is far from suggesting that a Gentile might somehow stand guiltless before God. Paul simply acknowledges that even Gentiles can have a sense of right or wrong that in some way reflects or echoes God's standards as communicated in his laws given to the Jewish people. Paul's already stated this very thing explicitly back in Romans chapter 1, verse 32. Yet all of this is very far from being good news for the Gentile. For Paul says that on the day of God's judgment, the Gentile's own conscience will bear witness not only to times when they did what they sensed was right, the day of judgment will also expose or lay bare those instances in which they secretly did what they knew in their hearts was wrong. In that sense, their conscience will be called on by God to come and stand in the docks and testify and bear witness even against them. In that respect, this is a sobering message for Gentiles to hear, just as much as it will be for the Jews who have the law and will be held accountable to that as well.